Okay. All right. So let me let everyone here. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. That was an interesting game. So let me see. So Silas, I don't know if you want to take over the board and maybe do the analysis, or one of you can take over the.
And then we share screen? Or?
Yes, then I will let you share screen. I'm gonna stop mine. And then you guys can share, one of you can share screen and go through the game.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there. Should we do the analysis in chess.com?
Yeah, I think that's what Razvan is doing. Yes.
That's probably the easiest, right? Okay. So let's see.
Yeah, let me share screen.
You can share the screen. Yeah.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Oh, it's still disabled.
Okay, hold on. Yes, go ahead. You can share now.
Okay. So everyone can see?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, it's up.
So it was a Grunfeld opening.
Yeah.
Bishop c4 variation. White has a lot of different setups.
Yeah, I saw you played this before, so I just made a quick search on you.
Yeah. Yeah, but Black has a lot of options, but I like to go for Bishop b7 development.
Yeah, and Queen d2, Rook c1 is kind of a normal setup.
Yeah. White can win this pawn, but Black will have positional compensation because the knight now gets e5. And a structure like this, like open files for the pieces, like Black has a lot of activity. So
and this c3 pawn and this weak
yeah.
Yeah.
So my opponent just prepares to connect the rooks, prepares bishop h6, and yeah, just wants to keep the center, doesn't want to win the pawn. So I just develop. This is all like normal.
At this point, I have to kind of make a choice. So my thinking was, I just saw a few games through, right? But I saw both e6 and e5 played. And that's why I also saw rook f to d1. But if black plays e5, I want the rook on the f file, I think, after I close the sender and want to break with f4. So that's why I took a little time here. I wasn't sure if you were necessarily going to play e6.
Right.
So I had basically f3, rook f to d1 or h4. I was thinking that's why I spent a little time. Maybe it's not very practical in a 15+10 game, but that's how I thought. Well, then I played h4 here. I thought that was more flexible, and h5 surprised me. You never played that before. Right. I don't know how I should approach this after h5.
Yeah, I thought a while I could allow it h5, but decided just to stop it in this game.
Yeah.
Because now after e6, the pawn is going to be hanging, so yeah. I was going to have to spend a move to deal with that.
Yeah. So what were you expecting here?
Yeah, I thought rook fd1 is normal.
Yeah.
So now I release the tension.
Here I forgot that I couldn't drop the bishop back to d3 without d4 hanging.
To d3? Yeah.
Yeah, when I played f3, I forgot knight a5 for a moment that d4 was hanging.
Right.
I don't know if I sacrificed the pawn after knight a5 instead of exchanging the bishop. Maybe I should go e5 here.
Yeah, that I was considering that.
Already. That's kind of normal. But then you can jump to e7, of course, if you want.
Yeah, I can bring the knight to d5, for example, or play like in the game, knight a5, bishop d5. It's another setup.
Yeah.
So yeah, white has to find out how to deal with the pawns, like to play for e5 or for d5. Problem with d5 is that it always allows knight e5, but maybe you can prepare it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, lots of options white has. I think f3 was not well timed though, because I can get the bishop pair advantage.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's like there's too many options, right? So you can easily get confused. I got confused here because now I cannot. Can I play bishop d3? And then if you take the pawn.
I wasn't going to give up the bishop here or give up the
But
dark
maybe
square.
you can because it might be hanging a little bit everywhere.
Yeah, I would consider it, but also knight c6 is like a normal idea too.
Yeah.
Because I think like this is the only way to keep the pawn, but I can.
Now you can play bishop takes d4, right? Unless you don't.
Maybe yeah, I don't really like giving up the bishop
because of rook c7 ideas.
Yeah. Also here I get pinned, so that can be a problem.
Okay.
But yeah, generally I don't like giving up the bishop if I don't have to. But yeah, even this is still possible, of course, because it's with check and the queen on d4 will control the diagonal, so not much danger of getting checkmated.
Yeah.
So yeah, bishop d3 is safer, but then I really liked my position after a5 because I have the bishop pair and queenside majority can be dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. I have to take stock a little bit here. I think it's more dangerous for me maybe. When I played knight c3, my original idea was actually to play d5. But then let's look at d5 here.
Yeah. So it's considering b4, but then knight a4 is the idea.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then knight could go to c5. So.
Or b6, yeah.
Yeah, that was a fork thread. I think I was just preparing to take the knight takes. So yeah, I think this was an improvement.
I think so, yeah. It's harder for me in the game to create this pass pawn with the sender is
because
the double pawn and yeah.
In this case, it's always hard to get d5 now because the bishop can take the pawn, so you have to support it. And I'm happy to exchange the bishop for knight in that way. Like white also damages the structure. Yeah, I thought a long time on a4 because I was considering like this to attack the pawn, but yeah, in the end I thought it makes sense to create an outside pass pawn.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, for sure. I have to take it, right? I was considering b4 for a moment because I could see the problems after taking on a4, but I don't know. It's b4 is. I still not get my knight really into the game, so I wasn't too happy. I get rook c4. You also have.
Yeah, that's also why I liked a4 because I get c4 square if you go b4. Yeah, this would be problematic.
Yeah, I don't like that. Rook c8, bishop f8, maybe.
Yeah, already here white's in some trouble for sure because
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, this pawn is very dangerous, and white can't really bring more pieces to the king side. It's just like the bishop and pawn here.
Yeah.
So.
I mean that pawn is going to get at least to a3, so I think I'm just in trouble here. I mean, it's maybe I could have played better, but it's so easy to make a mistake in that position for white. So
yeah, so if like here I can, like in the game, just put the rook behind the pass pawn.
Yeah.
Or rook c4, bringing the other rook. So already it's really easy for black, and black has an advantage. So knight e4 was to forced the exchange, but doesn't
Yeah, it was
solve-
also because I didn't like rook c4. If I, so
Right.
I think I have to get the knight out of the way somehow.
Mhm. So I thought exchanging one pair of rooks helps for playing rook 8. Like if I go here, maybe it's easier to get d5, or you have counterplay 2 rooks.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Also, the pawn is just less dangerous, I think, because both rooks control the first rank, so
That makes
it's harder
sense.
to promote. Yeah, my play is very simple. I can.
Yeah.
White can't stop a3 because the bishop can come back now to f8.
Yeah, so I was trying to get the queen to the diagonal. I thought that was the best chance, but that what I played, I couldn't see any alternatives.
Yeah, already here it's very difficult for white.
Yeah, what else am I supposed to do if I cannot
Yeah.
take e5?
So white's trying to create a passed pawn, but now e4 will be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought of queen e4 right away, but the check,
Yeah.
forcing the king.
Oh, you want to take h4 with check or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there were ideas queen e3 or queen f2, so I have
Yeah.
more options. So now I'm threatening queen takes d1.
Yeah.
The pawn promotes, so white has to move the rook.
That was a clever little move. Now you basically have to move the rook again. So.
Yeah, so I went the pawn. But then here I made a mistake. I missed d7 counterplay. Probably can just take the pawn. And then, okay, go back, and I'm up 2 pawns. So
yeah.
Because my idea was now to take on d1, then promote, but now this doesn't work after d7.
Yeah.
This is a blunder.
Then I promote. Yeah.
Yeah, and the queen defends each other. So black is losing here.
Yeah.
But yeah, even here, white's still in trouble because lots of weak pawns, and the king is it's not safe. So.
No, I mean, when you played queen b5 later, could I have done anything? I'm not sure.
Right.
Yeah,
I
queen
don't
A, move the queen, maybe queen a1 to attack the pawn on a2.
That was the best defense, I think. But
is it time to go into the queen endgame? You would rather keep that pawn on a2 as long as you can, right?
Yeah, I think so. Although even those endgames can be like if I win e5, so I think by force I win a pawn because this is a double attack. So even this is very convincing, I think.
Yeah, 2 pawns is too much.
But yeah, after g3, like rook takes d7 was the threat of queen b5.
Yeah.
And like in the game, the pawn promotes and black's win.
Yeah, game over. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Any questions or?
It's a very tricky opening to play with white. I remember when I played, this line was starting to become modern. On move 10, this is where black had all the choices when you played b6. So I think the normal move at that time in the 90s, when this line started to become popular, it was knight a5. Yeah, instead of b6, knight a5 was kind of like. And it was around the end of the 1990s. That was when they discovered all these other moves. I think the first one they discovered was kind of like black can just play e6. And then this b6 pawn sacrifice came up. And then suddenly there was like 6 or 7 moves on move 6 that black could play. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, black has a lot of options here as well. I think bishop g4. provoking f3 first.
Yeah.
Also, b6 is more modern, I think, because at the time, maybe they didn't know that black has great compensation for the pawn sacrifice.
Yeah, I think
The
it was
more
for
modern
Boris Au first in his books for quality chess. I think he was one of the first who really made some advances in theory there. But yeah, it's a while ago now.
Okay. All right. Razvan, I know you have to leave in 2 minutes. Is there anyone on the line that has a question? If you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask. Also, Silas, I have one quick question. So why didn't you continue with a kingside attack, from move 15, 16, just at least to distract?
You mean after h5?
That's right, after white played.
Yeah, so h5 is
not
it's not the most played. So I thought about ways to get to g6 maybe, because he weakened his kingside a little bit, like knight f4.
Yeah, knight f4.
I consider that. d4 is hanging right now, but then g6 maybe. I considered ways maybe even to play f4 to cover that e5 square. And then, I want to play d5 now. So black has to do something.
Or maybe even exchange the dark squared bishops.
Yeah, so what about d4?
Maybe not right now.
G6 is hanging. Yeah, okay. So definitely, I don't know. Maybe I should have done something like that. Try to focus on that G6 square more. That's an idea.
Yeah, white has a lot of options, but it's hard to tell right away. I liked rook fd1. Yeah, maybe here's more.
Yeah, be a little careful about.
Like white can also move the queen maybe to play for d5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like black's setup. So it's not so easy to advance the pawns.
That's true. Black is kind of ready. So that, yeah, it's not so easy.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I think that was a good game. I don't see any more questions here on the chat. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. For those of you on the line, remember to come back at 3 o'clock for the masterclass. Okay. All right, then. Thank you so much for your time today.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.